Morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. We've got none other than Becky Alley on. Good morning, Becky.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
All right, we got Becky. And of course, our special guest, Julie Trauben, Keller Williams Showcase. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi. Oh, it's always great to have Julie. Julie's going to have all sorts of costume changes throughout our show this morning. So we're going to have a lot of fun here.
I'm here for all of the costume changes.
We're going to give you 1 hour, of course, of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Call-in show, 248-539-9797. I think Harry's going to be joining us. Maybe a couple other people are going to be joining us. But you call on the show if you want to be buying or selling a house and get things done the right way. Julie, the competition out there is already fierce for all these homes. We're in the middle of January. It feels like spring 2021 already.
Crazy. Just had an offer accepted last night at 10 p.m. Who would think? I've like 3 of them already, just right away in January. And like you said, just like spring right now.
Becky, the competition always is because the inventory is so low. What's going on down in your neck of the woods, Becky? You got a lot of purchase business going on. I know you're already off and running. I left the office last night. I think it was like 6. Becky's there at 6:37, 8 o'clock on a Friday night. Becky, you're busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely busy and we're all blessed. I mean, so with the purchase market, I mean, even in the winter, normally you see it slow down, but it's just not happening in Michigan. And even for the past several years, it's been on and popping, even in the winter months, because right now people are really trying to capitalize on the fact that even if there's even a sliver of less competition out there, they're jumping on it. And the rates are so low. We're about to change batons between presidencies, and we don't know what the rates are going to do. So if you're out there and you're serious, I mean, you're taking advantage of the time, as Julie is talking about right now.
Julie, you said last night you get an offer accepted at 10 o'clock at night. I'm guessing the clients have to go in very aggressively. The overbidding is already starting. Tell us a little bit, again, without giving names away, tell us how that offer got accepted.
You know what? This was a crazy one because my client was an FHA, and these sellers were not even offering FHA. I called, spoke to the agent a couple times, said, had checked the house out. I think it wouldn't be a problem. My buyer's offering to do any repairs out of their pocket, not out of theirs. We came up with some creative strategies, and he did go a tiny bit over, but not a whole lot. I don't suggest going crazy amounts over, but he went $5,000 over because he really wanted this house, and that's okay. But when they start going 20 and 30, it's like, okay, that's stupid to me. But
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, so $5,000 to your mortgage payment. So pretty much for the listeners out there, for every $1,000, it's going to affect your payment between $5 and $7 right now because the interest rates are so low. So, someone's payment going up $20 to secure their home of their dreams. I mean, okay, what's that? I mean, it's like really nothing in the grand scheme of things. And even like we were talking about, it's about being creative, because sometimes someone's going to say, so the reason why a house wouldn't go FHA financing is because maybe the house is not in the best shape and the sellers don't want to put in the money to maybe put in a hand railing because FHA cites health and safety concerns, but also conventional will do that too. So the fact that you took that time, went through the house, and then the buyer was like, listen, I'll put in the handrail if it comes down to it. I don't want to miss this opportunity. And that's what it's going to take right now to get your buyer to stand above everybody else at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, because you're out there hustling.
Yeah. I mean, and they even offered to do, and we did our inspection satisfaction right in with, he is going to inspect just so he knows, what he's getting into, but just so that they know we're not going to try to price gouge or do anything after. Just when they had multiple offers before we even saw the house, and they still accepted us, and they were not even accepting FHA. So we just did a bunch of things just to go outside of the box. And, the little love letter always helps. And we did it. So it was very exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, good for them.
I'm glad the sellers are sharp enough. And again, it takes a lot of strength and guts for the real estate agents to step their buyers up to the plate and say, hey, it doesn't matter what the mortgage is called. If you've got a bona fide, real approval letter, if the lender could be spoken to, giving the seller and the listing agent that added confidence. Now the seller's got this great opportunity where they're going to accept your offer. It's $5 more they're going to get for their house. The loans take the same amount of time. I mean, if you're calling Capital Mortgage or wherever these folks are getting their mortgage from, I'm sure they can get it done in a timely manner. So it's just the same as a conventional offer. So what a great opportunity for all parties involved. And they get the house they're looking for. And I'm glad you mentioned it, Julie, because we know that families are really going to be forced this early buying season to overpay a little bit for the house. But if you're paying 5 or 10% over, that might be or let's say 5,000 or 10,000 over, not
Yeah,
5 or 10% over.
Yeah.
That's the same amount of appreciation you might find if you wait to buy a house, let's say in April or May.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to even out and it's worth it.
If the house is in moving condition, it's always worth it, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and what, Harvey's, kind of piggyback on that point is he's trying to say that like you overpaying $5,000 more for a house to secure your home might save you another 5,000 of what that house might be going for in April, May, June, because people are going to be coming out of the woodworks, they'll be crawling out, and they're going to really start getting more aggressive with these home and these purchase prices. Now, that's not saying that these purchase prices are going to go to the moon, but there are going to be some buyers out there that they are so in love with the house that they will pay $15,000 over because they have that kind of cash assets to do so. And I mean, who are we to tell them no? But at the same time, it is going to start driving these purchases up.
That's what they're going to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're always got to be negotiating. What did you say, Julie?
I said they have the COVID cash flow.
You got to You might have to reach in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, this sort of brings up different things, Becky. Like a lot of the clients out there, when we're meeting with them, I've got a one-on-one meeting here right after first-time home buyers. We're going to discuss additional funds that you're working with, money that you're working with to purchase the house. And if you don't have a lot to work with, maybe you can put your plan together, reach out to a family member. It's tax season is around the corner. Again, hey, the IRS went ahead and extended it till February 12th. So you're not going to be able to get your tax returns done right away. But again, if you're getting some money back, some additional money back this year, then maybe that money can fall into your home purchase and the funds to close on your house. Hey, we're going to take your calls all morning long here. 248-539-9797. Julie Trauben joins us from Keller Williams Showcase. I talked to Julie all week long. It's nonstop with her, negotiating on new houses. She's driving up north. I know she's 4.5 hours out there. And Julie, I wanted in this first segment, just get people excited because even this morning I talked to a friend who was headed up north. Tell us a little bit about that inventory, even up there. Are they seeing the same thing that we're seeing down here?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually slimmer up there. It's even harder, especially for lake, where I have a couple of clients that I'm still searching for up there on the water. Very hard, way slimmer pickings than down here, I would say.
So if you even want to get your plan together to purchase that vacation home, that up north, that second home up there, it's the same down here. You better have a real serious agent and the plan and the funds.
Ready. Have that pre-approval letter, have your plan ready, because by the time you start scurrying for it all, it could be gone.
I mean, yeah, the thing is that with COVID and everyone, when we hit that first quarantine, it really kind of like a light bulb went off in people's minds. Like, crap, if I have to be quarantined, I want to do it on a lake. So anything that was halfway decent lakefront, I mean, it's been snatched up so quick. I mean, so now, like you're saying, it's a testament to that where, people that have these lakefront properties, I mean, they're either holding on to them or they're going to want a very pretty penny for them to give them up.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. So like Harvey said, just be ready. We're constantly watching. We're ready. I'm ready just for a couple of my clients just to try to get up there on a 5-minute notice. We're going up because it's worth it. Some of these buys, plus it's fun to get up there and get away.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds fun and exciting.
I don't mind following the money up north.
I was fortunate enough. I had a friend who was interested in buying a house, and we had to close it up yesterday in the city of Northville. But the house is on the lake, and then we had many other people. As soon as this one agent I was working with on it, we sold this house. Boy, she had about 2 or 3 other people saying, "Hey, I want to get a little piece of this. I want to get on the water here." And boy, oh boy, whether it's the canal here in Southeast Michigan, a lake, not even a motorboat lake, these homes are top dollar and they're slim pickings. You have to have a serious plan together. And probably even we see this, Julie, people are even throwing emails out there to strangers and walking around subdivisions, dropping off letters saying, if you're ever interested in selling your home.
Oh yeah, that's definitely door knocking, trying to get, which is harder right now because of COVID, but yeah, they're doing anything to see if anybody's getting ready. They're looking for signs outside, are they doing something to the house? They're getting ready. They're ready to pounce. It's pretty.
We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back after the break, because with the slim pickings out there, different ways to maybe find out if the house is coming on the market. They call them pocket listings in the olden days, but the key is you have to have your financial house in order, because when these houses do come up, these sellers are extremely motivated. And again, sometimes there's a situation where you could find someone who's maybe selling their home, and then you can go ahead and give them the confidence that you're able to close and give them the additional occupancy and set that whole plan up together so that it's a smooth and easy transition. You got to have the professionals involved, folks, as we've been telling you here for 21 years on the Hardcore Mortgage Show. Again, we'll take all your calls at 248-539-9797. I think we're going to go to a break here, Paul. Let's go for it. All right, right when we come back, we're going to go to all these calls. 248-539-9797.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Alrighty, welcome back to the show, 917. If you're just joining us, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289. Already January 16, 2021. We're definitely diving into home buying season. We got Julie Trauben, Keller Williams Showcase on the line. And again, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender. I got to throw that in there. Strongest panel always here on the Hardcore Mortgage Show. Let's go off to a call, and then we're going to dive into a whole bunch of buying and selling stuff and real estate. Brian from Macomb. Thanks for calling in, Ryan. Good morning and welcome to the show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anytime
It's
you
the
want to
same
send.
thing.
Yeah, Beth,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, so like it's principal and interest. So if you make one principal and interest, so like let's just say if your payment's $800 total, and you make that $800 towards your principal, that's what they're talking about. So you pretend that your mortgage payment that you're making, you just put that whole $800 and you say apply it towards extra principal, and that's what they're talking about. Does that make sense?
And that's the thing, Brian. You're not going to be sending that additional money toward your escrow account, toward your taxes, your insurance. You're sending the money to pay down the principal on the loan. And then it's not only a great idea, we can send you an amortization chart to show you some different numbers. I had a client actually this week. They said, Harvey, what if on a 15-year, I sent an extra $300 a month? How soon would I pay that house off? And it knocked about 2.5 years off the loan. So really fun to run those numbers and take a look to see what what the savings are going to be and how many years you can knock off your loan. Brian, we'll give you a call. Good stuff. We're going to follow up with you and send some numbers to you. It's fun to look at those amortization charts back. We're the numbers people in the mortgage world. It's really fun to show all the people what they're saving.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised what you can do to save money without even thinking about it, right? So what we were talking about is that principal and interest payment where you just throw that towards your principal, and that's going to could knock up to 4 years off your term, depending on how consistently you're doing it. So it's allowing you to be in control.
Julie, turn your Zoom off on that. Again, we're always have a little bit of technical issues here as we do a live Zoom broadcast, which you can see on Facebook. And then, of course, the audio here live on 97.1 The Ticket.
Yeah, it's always a good time. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, though, if you're not seeing it, you're missing out because Julie is here. She is Captain freaking wearing her hat, and I'm loving it.
Julie, dive into that topic we were talking about. Julie, let's go ahead.
We were talking about for sale by owners and all that during the break.
Yep. And how much everybody can actually save if they just forego that whole process, their time, their energy, their stress, their pocketbook in the end, everything. And I've actually seen it actually play out with them. Because
so for a sale by owner, right? So you have a lot of people that don't want to list with a real estate agent because they think that they don't want to pay the commission. They don't want to pay the tens of thousands of dollars that they think they're going to pay. So, and I actually took a call from someone where they're selling their house on their own, but the people that want to put an offer have an agent. And so they said, I don't want to pay the real estate commission on behalf of what the buyer's agent is requesting. So what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, then I tell them that I'll just take them to another home. I'll find them another home because my buyers they want to be represented. They're smart and they know that, first of all, they don't have to pay, but usually they're paying on their own side, on the sell side. And even if they're not, they know that, being represented, they're better off for us to just go find another home. I mean, I've never really been in the position where it was like a do or die. Somebody really had to see it, but usually I can talk the sellers, into seeing our side, after they have a nice conversation with you, they're not ready to hang up. Because once you say, hey, I'll just take them to another home, then they want to listen to you. Because then I can say, listen, I can help you while I'm helping them. I can help be the liaison for both. So you're basically getting, my work for free because they don't even know how to do the sell side.
Right.
Yeah. So do you see that the sellers save more money when they're represented?
Oh, absolutely. Like we were just talking about occupancy, defending them at their inspection, defending them most importantly at the appraisal, especially right now, appraisals are tight. And I mean, you've got to really go in, and whether they're my buyers or my sellers, like my buyer right now that just went in 5,000 over, I'm going to go and help with that appraisal. I'm going to make sure to try to save him the 5,000 he has to bring to the table. Just, I know it's 5,000, but if we can save it and he can put it into his mortgage, so be it. And it's going to help them, but you got to help any angle you can get them.
We talk about that competitive angle is when you're going in and you're saying we might overbid or we're going to get 3 days of occupancy. This is really interesting because a family who might be selling for sale by owner doesn't realize they might be able to stay in the house for 60 days.
Yeah.
And the reason why that can save them a lot of money is now they don't have to go buy or rent or move twice or buy a storage facility. So all those things do add up. And also having, like you said, a professional real estate agent representing you can set up all the timelines, the closing, then you're allowed another 60 days of occupancy. And that's key to making sure it's a smooth transition for both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah. And they do end up seeing that. And if they don't see it and they get burned on it, then they have to learn the hard way. But most of the time you can get them to see your side. Some of them.
You get what you pay for at the end of the day. I mean, that's the truth is you get what you pay for.
And that's
when you
exactly it. Exactly it. From all angles, in anything in life, but especially in real estate.
2485.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I hear that because there's inspections that the sellers they're responsible for. Is there going to be a private city inspection, like for certificate of occupancy, and a lot of times the sellers are walking the plank alone and they just don't understand the things that they have to do to even really read that contract, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like I tell them with having the buyer, and they're getting my help going through the purchase agreement. A lot of them don't even understand how to even read the purchase agreement. So they're getting help just paying for the buyer, coming in. They think, oh, I can just do this. But there's those little things, like you just said, city certification, it's on there. People don't pay a lot of attention to it until they have to. Or just, are we going to arbitrate this or are we going to take it to court? There's these little parts that they can mean a lot to someone in the end.
Oh my God,
definitely multiple bids coming in on all these gorgeous houses out there. You got to sit with your real estate agent and find out what you can do to get multiple bids and get the most out of the sale of your house. And again, all these different components fall in occupancy, when you're going to close and stuff like that. 248-539-9797. I think, Julie, we need to move your phone away from the Zoom. We're still working out some technical difficulties here.
Is it still over here?
We're just
Here,
sort of keep it near you. Yeah. So, because I'm
Okay,
getting
that's
double
better.
play.
Yeah.
Here. Is that
Yeah,
better?
it's you. Yeah, way better.
Is
You're not hearing any of this. All righty. Hey, when we're doing a live
I told you I
broadcast,
would
we
not
get
be a
this
good
done.
person for this technical.
Yeah, get your crew on the ball over there. Hey, Facebook has been a great thing for a lot of good information. Some people may have questions on whether or not that's true nowadays. But people I see are resorting to, again, we talked about this, putting blanket statements out there. If you know of anyone who has a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom house, I've got buyers ready to go. That's how tight the inventory is.
I mean, for sure. I mean, like people are trying to throw a rock to see where it lands because there is no inventory. I mean, I think I got a sticker on my door like, hey, this house around the block sold for X amount of dollars. Just like, and it's just enticed like, oh, well, I wonder what I would get for my house. And that's what they're trying to do out there is just rattle any cages, I'm assuming.
All right. Hey, guys, we're up against a quick break here. We're going to take some calls here, and we're working out the technical thing here. 248-539-9797. Keep it here.
Hi, Harry Glanz, Danberg from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Southeast Michigan. Always a great day to get that approval letter. Call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Of course, if you haven't refinanced, you will be calling soon. Mortgage rates at historic lows, as you've heard. This pandemic's been really interesting, though. It complicates the issue because the vaccine's coming out, which is really good. It's out there. I don't know. It's like harder to get a vaccine shot than a Hamilton ticket, if you remember that Hamilton play that was going around. But anyways, this is Becky. Reasons why interest rates are extremely volatile now. They could burp up a little bit, although the Fed's talking about keeping them down, and we know it's going to be a great home buying season. Take advantage now. You don't know what can happen next month.
No, for sure. I mean, the rates this week have moved up an eighth to a quarter just from Friday to Monday. I mean, it was a huge, I mean, it wasn't like that's huge, but that's most of a change that we have seen since March. I mean, so the market and the rates have been pretty stagnant. So we are starting to see these little ticks. So what does that mean for you? Okay, well, it was at 2.8 or 2.75, and now it might be 2.875. Okay, gasp. Like, you're not going to lose sleep over that. I mean, it's such a minor difference to your payment. However, it's a little punch in the face. You're like, oh, dang, I wish I would have got 2.7 versus 2.8, for example. I mean, but the point that we're trying to make is this is the time. These rates are not going to stay where they're at from now until kingdom come, as well as, we're hoping that they'll stay, consistent, because that's helping buyers buy more home. It's helping the affordability, because, 2 years ago when I bought a house, the lowest rate out there was 4.875, to put that in perspective. And this is what I do for a living. And that was the lowest rate that I could get out there was 4.8. And so that was in 2018. So that's a 2-point difference in interest rates in 2 years that we have seen. So why sit on the sidelines if you don't have to?
Yeah, definitely a little bit about the home buying basics. And that's some great advice for anybody out there. Do things sooner, at least find out about it and really build that knowledge bank. Julie Trauben joins us from Keller Williams' office, Showcase out the Union Lake office. She works all of Southeast Michigan. And anyone buying a place up north, she's been back and forth. She will go find you a place anywhere in the state of Michigan. I don't know if she's going to drive anywhere else for you, but Julie, thanks for joining us. It's always a lot of fun. And again, sorry about the technical stuff. We've got it figured out, I think, now. Julie, aren't you doing your seller a solid? People talk about don't hire the agents. We were talking about that. They only care about themselves. No, great agents bring great knowledge. And you're doing your seller a solid when you tell them, hey, look, it's a great market. If we can fix up this house or put a few dollars here, we probably can get a lot more dollars out of the house. Tell us about that, how the families want these move-in condition homes.
Oh, that happens all the time. I just have a listing right now. If he just changed his brown doors from 30 years ago, just to the white panel doors, slapped some paint on it. And, that just changes everybody's look when they come in there, because they think, oh, I can just move in right away. And then they all want the house way more than they would, knowing that they have to come in and, do that work. Just take that extra couple weeks ahead of time, and you're going to get a lot more offers.
Yeah, we talked about
it goes a long way.
Yeah, paint goes a long, long way.
Paint really does.
Well, we talked about it, health and safety issues earlier, and I'm working on a file now, and again, whenever we're working on purchases, we get a little bit of anxiety and stress, and sure enough, it's an FHA purchase. But when the appraiser went out there's peeling paint all around this house. I mean, I'm not going to mention that there was a puddle of water that we're trying to figure out where that came from too. But again, you're buying a house for health and safety issues. You're spending $200,000 or more in most of the situations here. We want you to get a house that obviously you know what you're getting into. The cost of a house here in Michigan, actually, to maintain a house in the Midwest is about $8,500 a year. And that goes for your taxes, your homeowner's insurance, the upkeep of the house. You don't want to buy a house and then come into a really heavy expense. Like you got to fix the sewer line or the foundation has a serious issue.
Oh, yeah. Horrible.
And the other thing about appraisals too. No, go ahead, Julie.
No. I was just saying, hopefully we help our buyers, find these homes the same way, that they don't just have to settle and they don't have to do all of this after. You want to set them up for success.
And what I was going to mention about the appraisal. So with FHA, we talk about its health and safety, but that doesn't also mean that a conventional house is just you can just let it look however it looks and you can just get away with it, because it's not that either. It's not that either, because if there's mold in your house, for example, and it's cited by the appraiser, they have they have to do their due diligence. And if they feel that something is a health and safety concern, even on a conventional mortgage, they're going to say something about it. The appraiser, they have a responsibility to flag certain things. So, you can't like, oh, well, my house is not in the best shape, so I'm only going to accept conventional financing only because I'm going to get away with this. No, it's the appraisers are going to flag it anyway. If there's mold, something serious like stairs falling apart, chances are you're still going to have to fix it anyway. So you can't get around it. So sometimes you just got to put in maybe a couple of dollars, minor things, and then go from there.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, of course, talked on Thursday, affirming that the Fed is going to probably keep the rates down. Of course, we keep an eye on what's going on here. As Becky said, we're going to be turning the keys over to someone else at the White House. Different things can happen. Again, the pandemic, we never saw that coming. It's like living in Fantasy Island right now, Becky, with these low interest rates, or Disney World, or whatever your fantasy is, because we've never seen anything like this. And as though all these homes are going up in price, we see the constant appreciation somewhere between, I don't even think the appreciation's at 5. I think last year's appreciation in Southeast Michigan was somewhere, I had the statistics, I didn't bring them in, but they were somewhere between 7 and 15%.
That's crazy.
Depending upon where you might have bought a house, you might have already had 5 or 10%. And Becky, these low interest rates, what a great opportunity for those families who just bought with minimum down to refinance and get rid of the mortgage insurance.
Yeah, COVID-19 was like a little bit of the dark horse. Obviously there was a lot of negativity that is associated with this COVID-19 pandemic, but no one saw the impact it was going to have on interest rates. No one saw the impact it was going to have on the real estate market and the shift that we were going to see there. It was almost like a perfect storm of things that happened that have allowed these families to refinance lower rates, pull cash out because there's a lack of inventory in these housing market. The housing prices have been appreciating. So now people that didn't have equity now have equity. So now you're living at home, everyone's in the same house 24/7, kids being schooled, and you now have to renovate. And if the house isn't fitting your needs and you're not going to renovate, well, guess what? Now you're looking to buy. It was just a lot of things happening. Even with that pause, Julie, I'm assuming that, you probably had to get creative when you guys were forced to kind of take that pause in, what was it, through May, but you guys couldn't get back up until May, I think it was. And
Right.
I'm sure it was just crazy.
Yeah. We had nothing to do, but everybody, we all had nothing to do. I think a lot of people were just getting themselves ready because once that lifted, we were up and running. It was just, I think everybody was doing the same thing, whether it was us waiting, they were getting ready, everybody was ready, and everything got rocked.
Julie, I'm going to be meeting some family here right after the show. And let's take this call. And then I want to talk about my meeting and maybe some of the things I should even discuss. Always the mortgage stuff. And then I'm going to tie it in with the real estate talk. But first, let's go out to Jerry out in Rochester Hills. Jerry, I like your question. You wrote that you're going to be helping your daughter buy a house. Tell me a little bit more, Jerry.
Okay, my daughter is recently divorced and renting a house and looking at houses. Her budget is $600 for the house, and I have a life insurance policy that one of the cash value is worth $600,000. So I'm questioning whether I should cash that in, loan her the money, and she takes the mortgage from me to save her all the closing costs that a bank would charge her.
Jerry, I don't like that idea at all. And I know your stockbroker doesn't like that idea. You could borrow money now at all-time lows. So we're talking about literally low threes. Let's say 3.25 is the ceiling right now on a purchase on a 30-year. I like the idea that you just maybe help her with the down payment if that's a situation, but she can borrow the money from the lender and keep your life insurance and your financial plans all intact. Makes a lot more sense to me. What do you think? How would it benefit? Yeah, because you're making more money than writing the interest that she can write off at 3.25.
Plus, because in the grand scheme, to piggyback on that, the grand scheme of things, I don't know what people think closing costs are, but they're not like tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe $2,500 on a price point like that because your title insurance is going to be a little bit more expensive. But you're not paying points because the rates are so low. There's no need to really pay points for a mortgage. And if you can secure a non-conforming jumbo loan, or even give her 20%, and she would be in the conforming loan limit at 2.875, that is as free of money as you are going to get ever in the history of America. So why not? And then that's a tax write-off for your daughter as well, because I don't know what her status is, but I'm pretty sure you can still claim your interest that you write off on your mortgages on your taxes. So That might also help her as far as when she's doing her taxes. I'm not a CPA. Obviously, you'd have to like check with that, but it's just another idea that kind of crossed my mind as far as write-offs. I'm not, like sometimes if you're single or she's kind of going through, changes and she's going to go from married to single, her tax filing might change a little bit. So I would definitely want to talk to the CPA about that and see what's going to be best for her in that regard.
Yeah, it's a good first call, Jerry. What else you got?
Well, let me ask you a question. A down payment, does the interest rate go down the more money you put down on a
It could. We see 30% down, Becky. There is that 30% down, and there's not a loan level adjustment, but 20 or 30% down is basically going to be the same. And I like what Becky said. Becky, the loan limit now, as we know, $548,250, Jer. So it's not even going to be a jumbo loan. We would just sit you down and determine whether or not she's a 10% down buyer, which of course now she doesn't have to pay mortgage. She doesn't have to pay a jumbo loan. But Beck, also the jumbo rates are just as good.
Oh, they're crazy good. They're really good.
Yeah, we're talking about a purchase on getting a mortgage. It can close within 30 to 45 days. Most of the sellers out there want to see that they're pre-approved. Otherwise, you're forcing yourself. You can go ahead and hit that if you want. Otherwise, sellers are forced to see, you really don't have a plan together. And if you pull the money out now and she doesn't find a house for 2 or 3 months, then the money's just sitting around. I don't know, man. We're going to talk about this definitely a little bit more. It's a great call, and we appreciate it. 248-539-9797. All those great calls right when we come back.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Danberg from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
NMLS 2289, equal housing lender. Becky Alley and myself, Harvey Freed, we join you from Capital Mortgage Funding here locally. And of course, we got Julie Trauben on from Keller Williams Showcase. And we had a caller on. He just left. That's okay. Hey, I didn't even see his question up there. I love the last question, though. And again, people always want to get creative with their financing and stuff. And I think that's important. Find out what your options are. And then you speak to a qualified real estate agent, Julie, and I think I'm going to have you hook up with them and just sort of give them the vibe out there of the sellers, like what they're thinking. And what they want to see is they want to see a strong commitment, an approval letter, usually from a lender. And they want to know that the loan is going to be tidied up and the whole transaction closes 35, 45 days. A lot of moving parts in any transaction. You find out everyone's got a little bit of a personnel thing going on. So again, we break that down. It's not one phone call to some stranger. It's some 1-800 number. And we always warn you, don't talk to these strangers in the mortgage world. I have seen some of the craziest stuff in the last few weeks out there from families that think they're just going to wing it and go to these odd sites because they're chasing that low interest rate. Chasing that low interest rate always is a bad surprise party. Typically, it has to do with a lot of discount points and fees and things of that nature. Hey, Julie, let's dive into some of the topics you have here. We're in our last segment here. Just a couple of the other topics we were talking about. We had the for sale by owner thing, which is usually a no-no in today's marketplace because of the timing involved and so many different facets. We talked about a couple different things. What else do you got on the plate there that we want to dive into? Yeah, it's a lot of emotional things going involved. Becky, we see it all the time also out there, Beck.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I actually agree with Julie. I mean, because like, sometimes you can tell someone what the process is, but they don't really grasp it until they're experiencing it. And, it's patient. I mean, it is a little bit of a hurry up and wait process because it's hurry up, get all the signed contracts and all that. Well, then it starts going into processing. Now, we're not taking transactions 3 months. I mean, we can close a transaction in 30, 45 days, depending on, sometimes we do it too fast and the sellers aren't ready because they don't have their ducks in a row. But I do agree with that is, things are going to take maybe a week or two. It's not instant gratification. People do have to process. The appraisers need time to go out there. And some of these appraisers are functioning at maximum capacity. They can't handle any more workload. Even the title companies, they are taking 2 weeks just to process title work. So obviously you have to, the purpose of title is to make sure that you're giving someone their home free of any additional liens outside of the mortgage. So that's the point of the title work. Well, they are so backlogged, they're taking 2 weeks. So that means that we can't even get your file into underwriting until we have that stuff back. So setting yourself up for success and making sure that you have professionals in your corner that are going to guide you, let you know what the process is, and remind you what the process is, even when you forget. That's what we're here for, to make sure that you are taken care of from start to finish, but we're also crossing that finish line in a timely manner once we're waiting on everyone else to get us what we need.
Hey, Julie, take a quick look at your Zoom. You might need to unmute it. Of course, our producers tell us maybe unmute that Zoom there. I don't know what you got going on. We'll keep rolling with it. I hear you loud and clear, so I think it's working. Hey, next week, I wanted to throw it out there because we got a really great show for next week. We wanted to have any of the listeners call in. Again, the reverse mortgage show coming up. We'll do a couple of these annually. And again, the reverse mortgage show is pretty exciting stuff for anyone out there who has, seniors in their life, retiring, if you own a house. It's definitely a great show to listen to. Again, the reverse mortgage world, it's complicated. You have to understand it. There's a lot to look at, but it can really help a lot of families with cash flow. It's all about cash flow when you get older. And again, the quality of life, if you want to retire and live out your days in your home versus selling it and getting put in one of these crazy nursing homes and things. So anyways, look, the reverse mortgage show next week here on 97.1 The Ticket. Make sure you join us. And again, if you have any seniors in your life, make sure they tune into the show. 248-539-9797. We got a few minutes left here. Definitely in sports all day long. I know there's crazy stuff. We got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Then we've got Rieger coming in. We've got then Leach coming in. And then, of course, Detroit Red Wing hockey. And we're excited. Hopefully the Red Wings getting started tonight. I'm going to be doing all my prayers for them. I'm lighting the candles and everything because we need a Red Wing victory right away here to get things started here. All right, funding in your neighborhood. You gotta find out what's going on in your neighborhood. Julie, I always say this to families. You know, if you're selling your house, you can write a list of things that people don't know, such as the garbage day pickup. Is there lake privileges? There might be some other things out there too. There's a park around the block and you can get in there. All these great little things that you can do as a seller to really put a little bit a few advantages out there for a buyers and maybe get a little bit more for your house.
Yeah, a lot of times those are all good questions and they come up a lot of times even at the closing table, but nowadays we don't have the closing table. So a lot of that was, that kind of talk, but yeah, we'll try to, or we give them a list. I'll ask them to make a list of things and put it right there and you list it right at the listing a lot of times, telling them all those little gems, little secret gems, And, but, people, even if you're buying a condo, they don't even know, where to put the garbage out. They don't know where their mailbox is and it won't even come up. And now because of COVID, it doesn't come up until sometimes after. So you have to be prepared and have that list ready and say, here you go, give this to your client, give this to your buyers if you're the seller and vice versa. But
it was kind of weird hearing you say there is no closing table. Like, It's like you almost like, cause you're right there, so like what she means is like when you're, you used to sit across from your seller or your buyer and everyone be in the same room, kind of bantering back and forth, just kind of changing of the baton. And you're right. It is, there is no closing table right now because of COVID and we need to make sure everyone is safe. And it's, you're right. Like these little
a lot
nuances.
of logistics now.
Mm-hmm.
We're missing that whole component there. It's a transition team. We were the transition team. They were exchanging keys and garage door openers and telling you about the neighbor in the corner there that walks around and picks up all the trash. Yeah, all those weird things. That's what makes home ownership really fun. Hey, Beck, let's throw it out there for all the self-employed borrowers out there. You can get a mortgage just like anybody else. But Becky, you need a 2-year average. You got to get your income taxes done.
Oh, yeah. Self-employed borrowers are in a totally different caliber bracket right now, specifically because of COVID. They're not being scrutinized, but they are being scrutinized. So singled out a little bit just because, we have to make sure that you're still working. So this isn't a capital mortgage thing. This is an everybody thing. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they have definitely changed the guidelines on what is required of someone to prove their income, that they are still working if you're self-employed. So that means that you cannot delay. If you're trying to be a buyer, you need to get us your information. Tax season is coming up, like Harvey pointed out earlier in the show. So if it's a matter of you need to file your 2020 tax returns in order to qualify, because perhaps 19's income wasn't there, we need to have these conversations right now so that way we can guide you in the best direction possible to not delay you. And then we need to see your bank statements and things are going to have to be updated. And we're not going to ask you for anything that we don't need. I assure you that we're not going to ask you for a piece of paper just to ask you for it. But the point is that we have to have all the information so that way we can give you the best advice and what's going to help you close your mortgage in a timely manner.
What's important, of course, is the last 2 years of the income and what you showed, what your adjusted gross income after all of your write-offs. Have those serious conversations with your CPA. Again, I have people nonstop calling me up. They say, hey, Harvey, I made $60,000. I said, oh, so you paid $20,000 in taxes last year. They say, no. I say, you made 60, but you didn't show that. And you have to understand that concept as what you're really showing the government you're making. It's a 2-year average. And if you made a lot 1 year in 2019 and your 2020 taxes show you made very little, that's a declining income in a self-employed borrower. You might want to second think that again, if you need a mortgage. If you don't need a mortgage, you do what you got to do for your business to make things happen. Hey, we got about a minute left there, Julie. Any final last thoughts for buyers and sellers out there? Other than you must call Julie Trauben at Keller Williams Showcase.
Yeah, that's the Captain most important one.
Julie, give me one last thing.
I would just say, just work with your agent, work with your lender. Your lenders, like you said, they know it all. Once we get through that inspection, it's all on the lender. And like Becky said, they're not just going to ask for a piece of paper, just ask for it. Everybody gets stressed out. They have to suck it up, finish it up. If they want to get the end result, work with the lender. The lender is you guys hold the key to the whole process. And you know, we all bounce off of each other. We try to keep everybody happy, positive, hold their hand. They hold our hand. And like Harvey always says, we hug it out in the end.
Hug it out at the end. I like that. Hey, we'll leave with that one. Keep it here on 97 on the Ticket. I see Pat Caputo. He's coming up next with sports and social commentary. Have a wonderful day.